Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Earth's defense station, watching the massive alien ships appear at the edge of their solar system. The screen showed 12 enormous vessels, each one bigger than Earth's largest city. He had spent 30 years fighting wars on Mars and the outer colonies, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Dr. Lisa Carter ran her fingers through her dark hair as she studied the alien transmission. The message had come in perfect English, which worried her more than anything else. How did they know their language so well? She had been Earth's leading expert on possible alien contact for 15 years. But all her theories seemed useless now. General Ryan Brooks paced back and forth in the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. His weathered face showed no emotion, but inside he felt the weight of 6 billion lives. Every defense plan they had made assumed human enemies. These aliens had technology that made human weapons look like stone tools. Ambassador Kate Williams tried to keep her voice steady as she read the alien message again. The words were simple and cold. Earth had 3 days to surrender completely. They wanted humans to destroy all weapons, give up their colonies, and send 40% of their people to work as slaves across the galaxy. In return, the aliens promised that humanity would be allowed to live. The alien leader called himself High Counselor Vexithera. His image on the screen looked like a tall, thin human with blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow. He spoke as if he was explaining something to a child. Behind him stood another alien, this one covered in what looked like black armor with red markings. The armored one never spoke, but his presence felt threatening. Morrison called a meeting with all the world's leaders. Presidents, prime ministers, and generals from every nation gathered in the emergency council chamber. The room had been built during the old nuclear wars, deep underground and protected from any attack Earth's enemies could make. Now it seemed like a cave compared to the alien ships waiting above. Dr. Carter presented her analysis first. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Confederation. They claimed to rule over 12 different species across thousands of star systems. According to their message, they had been watching Earth for decades, waiting for humans to develop space travel. Now that humanity had 3 small colonies, the aliens considered them a threat that needed to be controlled. General Brooks showed satellite images of the alien fleet. Each ship was at least 5 miles long and covered in weapons that Earth scientists couldn't even identify. The fleet had appeared without warning, moving faster than anything humans had ever built. Worse, the aliens seemed to know exactly where every human ship and station was located. Ambassador Williams tried to find hope in diplomacy. She suggested offering the aliens trade agreements or scientific cooperation. Maybe they could negotiate for better terms, or at least more time to prepare. But every attempt to contact the aliens received the same response: submit completely or be destroyed. There would be no negotiation. The debates went on for hours. Some leaders wanted to surrender immediately. They argued that fighting was hopeless and would only lead to human extinction. Others demanded resistance, saying that slavery was worse than death. A few suggested trying to run, loading ships with people and fleeing to distant stars. Morrison listened to all the arguments, but his mind was already made up. He had seen what happened when bullies got what they wanted. They always came back for more. Even if humanity survived as slaves, their children would grow up knowing that humans had chosen chains over freedom. Dr. Carter discovered something important while studying the alien technology. The aliens were incredibly advanced, but their ships all followed the same basic design. Everything they built seemed to follow rigid patterns, as if they couldn't imagine doing things differently. Their weapons were powerful but predictable. Their formations were perfect but inflexible. As the deadline approached, strange things began happening around the world. Old enemies started working together. Countries that had been at war for decades suddenly shared their best weapons and technology. Scientists who had spent years competing started collaborating on new ideas. It was as if the alien threat had reminded humanity what they all shared. The final vote was unanimous. Every nation on Earth agreed to the same response. Ambassador Williams was chosen to deliver humanity's answer to the aliens. She stood in front of cameras that would broadcast her words to both Earth and the alien fleet. Her voice was calm and clear as she spoke. She thanked the aliens for their message and said that humanity had considered their offer carefully. Then she delivered the response that would change everything. "We appreciate your interest in our world," she said. "But humanity has never bowed to anyone, and we won't start now. We reject your demands completely. If you want our world, you'll have to take it by force. We kneel to no one." The reaction from the alien ships was immediate. The High Counselor's image appeared on screens around the world. His glowing eyes seemed brighter now, and his voice carried a tone of surprise and anger. He said that humanity's response was unexpected. No species had ever refused the Confederation's generous offer of protection. Morrison watched from his command center as the alien ships began to move. They were heading toward Earth's outer colonies, where 50,000 humans lived and worked. The Admiral knew that those people would be the first to die for humanity's choice. But he also knew that the choice was right. General Brooks activated every defense system Earth had ever built. Weapons platforms that had been designed to stop asteroids were loaded with nuclear warheads. Mining ships were fitted with ramming charges. Even civilian vessels were armed with whatever weapons could be found. Dr. Carter worked frantically to learn everything she could about alien technology from their transmissions. Every piece of information might mean the difference between victory and defeat. She had less than 24 hours before the shooting would start. All across Earth, people prepared for war. Factories that had made cars and computers started building weapons. Farmers organized militia units. Children too young to fight helped load supplies. Everyone understood that this wasn't just a war between armies. This was a fight for the right to exist as free human beings. Morrison stood on his bridge one last time before the battle began. He looked out at the stars and thought about his children, who lived on one of the colonies the aliens would attack first. Then he opened the communication channel to every human ship and station in the solar system. "This is Admiral Morrison to all human forces," he said. "In a few hours, we're going to show these aliens what happens when they threaten Earth. We're going to teach them that humanity doesn't back down from anyone. Today, we fight for our freedom. Today, we fight for our future. Today, we show the galaxy who we really are." Captain Alex Rodriguez gripped his command chair as alien missiles streaked toward New Geneva Colony. His ship, the UES Defiance, was the most advanced vessel humanity had ever built, but it felt like a toy compared to the massive alien cruiser bearing down on them. Behind him, Lieutenant Commander Nina Walsh called out target coordinates while the bridge crew worked frantically to save 50,000 colonists. The alien attack had begun exactly as their ultimatum promised. "High Counselor, Vexithera sent his fleet to Earth's 3 colonies first, expecting quick surrender when humans saw their overwhelming power. But Rodriguez had no intention of surrendering anything to anyone." Dr. Ben Taylor watched the battle from his laboratory on Earth's moon. He had been studying the alien transmissions for 3 days straight, looking for any weakness they could exploit. What he found surprised him. The aliens were incredibly advanced, but their technology followed patterns that seemed almost mechanical. Every ship used the same weapons, the same shields, the same tactics. It was as if they had forgotten how to innovate. The first alien ship to attack New Geneva was 3 times larger than anything humans had built. It moved slowly and deliberately toward the colony, firing precisely aimed energy beams that cut through the station's outer defenses. The alien captain clearly expected the humans to surrender after this display of power. Instead, Rodriguez ordered an attack that broke every rule of space combat. He sent mining ships loaded with explosives directly at the alien vessel, using them as guided missiles. When the aliens destroyed the mining ships, the explosions damaged their precision weapon systems. Then Rodriguez brought the Defiance in close, too close for the big alien guns to target effectively. Lieutenant Commander Walsh had studied every space battle in human history. She knew that humans had always won by being unpredictable, by doing things that made no sense to their enemies. She coordinated the colony's defense using construction equipment as weapons and cargo ships as shields. The aliens couldn't understand why humans would sacrifice valuable resources in such chaotic ways. The battle for New Geneva lasted 6 hours. Rodriguez lost half his small fleet, but he saved the colony and destroyed 2 alien ships. More importantly, He proved that the aliens could be hurt. Their shields failed when hit by multiple small attacks instead of single large ones. Their targeting systems couldn't track fast, erratic movements. Their crews seemed confused when humans did unexpected things. Dr. Taylor made his most important discovery while analyzing wreckage from the first alien ship humans destroyed. The aliens had incredibly sophisticated computers, but they were programmed to follow strict procedures. When humans did something outside those procedures, the alien systems took several seconds to adapt. In space combat, several seconds meant life or death. The second major battle happened at Titan Defense Platform, where Admiral Morrison had concentrated Earth's heaviest weapons. The alien fleet arrived expecting another easy victory, but they found something completely different. Morrison had turned the entire moon into a fortress, using technology in ways its designers never intended. The defense coordinator was Lieutenant Commander Walsh, who had been promoted after her success at New Geneva. She used asteroid mining equipment to throw chunks of ice and rock at the alien ships. The aliens couldn't understand why humans would use industrial tools as weapons. Their tactical computers couldn't process such illogical behavior. Walsh quote,"S most effective strategy was the swarm attack." She sent hundreds of small ships and drones against each alien vessel, attacking from every direction at once. The alien point. Defense systems were designed to stop large missiles and energy beams, not clouds of tiny spacecraft piloted by humans who seemed to have no regard for their own safety. Captain Rodriguez joined the battle with his surviving ships from New Geneva. He had learned that alien crews became confused when humans used ramming attacks. The aliens had sophisticated shields that could stop any weapon, but they weren't designed to stop an entire ship moving at full speed. Rodriguez lost 3 ships that way, but he took down an alien cruiser that was 10 times larger. Dr. Taylor realized something crucial during the battle. Human reaction time was much faster than any alien species they had encountered. Human pilots could make decisions and change course in milliseconds, while alien systems needed several seconds to process new information. This gave human fighters a massive advantage in close combat. The aliens had another weakness that Dr. Taylor discovered by accident. Their command structure was incredibly rigid. Orders came from the top and had to be followed exactly. When lower-ranking alien officers saw their plans failing, they couldn't adapt without permission from their superiors. This meant human forces could exploit the same tactics repeatedly until new orders came from the alien fleet command. War-Marshal Zundak, the armored alien who had stood behind High Counselor Vexithara, began to understand that humans were different from any species the Confederation had encountered. Previous enemies had surrendered when they saw alien technology. Humans seemed to become more dangerous when they were outgunned. The Battle of Titan ended after 18 hours of continuous fighting. The alien fleet withdrew, but they had paid a terrible price. 3 of their major warships were destroyed, and 5 more were badly damaged. Human losses were heavy too, but Morrison had achieved something important. He had shown the galaxy that humans would fight, and that they could win. High Counselor Vexithara was furious about the unexpected resistance. He had promised the Confederation Council that Earth would surrender quickly, adding another species to their empire without a real war. Instead, humans had destroyed more Confederation ships in 3 days than rebels had managed in the past century. Dr. Taylor's research team made another discovery that changed everything. The aliens had incredibly long lifespans, sometimes living for thousands of years. This made them very conservative and risk-averse. They preferred to use overwhelming force rather than accept casualties. Humans, with their shorter lives, were willing to take risks that seemed insane to alien minds. The news of human victories spread quickly through the Confederation's empire. For the first time in 800 years, a species had fought back, successfully against their overwhelming technological advantage. Some alien species began to wonder if the Confederation was as invincible as they claimed. Morrison used the temporary respite to reorganize Earth's defenses. He promoted officers who had shown creativity in battle and developed new tactics based on what they had learned. Human shipyards worked around the clock to build new vessels designed specifically for fighting aliens. Not other humans. Captain Rodriguez was given command of an entire squadron of the new ships. They were smaller and faster than traditional human vessels, designed to exploit alien weaknesses rather than match their strengths. The ships could accelerate quickly, change direction without warning, and coordinate attacks in ways that confused alien targeting systems. Lieutenant Commander Walsh established the first human war college, where pilots and officers learned to think like humans fighting aliens instead of humans fighting humans. The most important lesson was simple: never do what the enemy expects. Aliens planned for logical, predictable responses. Humans needed to be creative, flexible, and sometimes completely irrational. As the first phase of the war ended, both sides prepared for a longer conflict. The aliens had expected a quick victory but now faced an enemy that refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare. Humans had proven they could fight, but they knew the real war was just beginning. Dr. Taylor's final report to the military leadership contained a warning and a promise. The aliens were much more powerful than humanity, but they had weaknesses that could be exploited. The key was to never let them predict what humans would do next. As long as Earth could stay unpredictable, they had a chance to win. Colonel Sam Pierce crouched in the ruins of New Geneva's main corridor, listening to alien patrol boots echo through the metal hallways. 6 months had passed since the Confederation forces occupied 2 of Earth's 3 colonies. The aliens thought they controlled these settlements, but Pierce and his resistance fighters had other ideas. The occupation had been brutal, but predictable. The aliens separated humans into work groups, destroyed all weapons they could find, and established strict schedules for everything from meals to sleep. What they didn't understand was that humans had been fighting guerrilla wars for thousands of years. Every mistake the aliens made became an opportunity for the resistance. Tech specialist Maria Santos worked in the colony's computer center, pretending to be a cooperative prisoner while secretly hacking into alien systems. The Confederation's technology was incredibly advanced, but their security was designed to stop other aliens, not humans. Maria's chaotic, intuitive approach to programming confused their logical security protocols. Dr. Frank Miller had been forced to work in the alien medical facility, studying human biology for his captors. But he was actually learning about alien weaknesses. The Confederation species were all highly specialized for their roles. The blue-skinned Zephyrians were brilliant strategists but physically weak. The armored Krathans were fierce warriors but couldn't adapt when their battle plans failed. The insect-like Villani were master engineers but became paralyzed when their precise schedules were disrupted. Pierce quote, "S resistance used these weaknesses ruthlessly." When Zephyrian administrators made inspection tours, human workers would deliberately create chaos that the aliens couldn't process quickly enough. When Krathan guards followed their patrol routes, resistance fighters would attack from directions that weren't covered in their tactical manuals. When Villani engineers tried to maintain alien equipment, sabotage would happen in ways that seemed like random mechanical failures. The resistance had started small, with just a few dozen fighters hiding in the colony's maintenance tunnels. But it grew quickly as more humans realized that cooperation wouldn't save them. The aliens treated even the most obedient humans as inferior beings. Workers were beaten for small mistakes. Families were separated without warning. Children were taken away for education in alien schools. Maria Santos made the breakthrough that changed everything. She discovered that the Confederation hadn't fought a real war in over 800 years. Their military victories came from overwhelming technological superiority, not combat experience. When species saw the size of Confederation fleets, they surrendered immediately. The aliens had forgotten how to fight enemies who refused to give up. This information spread through the resistance network and eventually reached Earth. Admiral Morrison and General Brooks realized that humanity was facing an empire that looked invincible but had never been truly tested. The Confederation's weapons were powerful, but their tactics were ancient and inflexible. Dr. Miller's medical research revealed even more encouraging information. The aliens lived much longer than humans, sometimes for thousands of years. This made them extremely cautious about taking risks. They preferred to use overwhelming force rather than accept any casualties. When humans proved willing to die fighting, It confused and frightened their alien commanders. Pierce planned his most ambitious operation 6 months after the occupation began. Intelligence from Maria's hacking revealed that the aliens stored most of their supplies in a single, heavily guarded warehouse. The facility was protected by automated defenses and Krathen guards, but Pierce had learned that alien security systems followed predictable patterns. The attack began at shift change, when the alien guards were distracted by their rigid procedures. Pierce's fighters had spent weeks studying the timing of every security system. They knew exactly when the automated guns would reset, when the guards would check their positions, and when the supply shuttles would arrive. Maria Santos disabled the warehouse's main computer system using a virus that she had hidden in routine maintenance reports. The alien security programs couldn't understand the chaotic code she had written. Instead of stopping the virus, their logical systems tried to analyze it, which allowed the infection to spread through their entire network. Dr. Miller had prepared special explosive charges using chemicals stolen from the alien medical facility. The aliens never suspected that their own medical supplies could be turned into weapons. The explosives were designed to create maximum chaos rather than maximum damage, disrupting alien operations for weeks. The resistance fighters moved through the warehouse like ghosts, using maintenance tunnels and air vents that the aliens didn't know existed. The Krathen guards were trained to fight large battles with predictable enemies, not small groups of humans who appeared and disappeared without warning. Pierce quote, S-team destroyed 6 months' worth of supplies in less than an hour. Food, equipment, replacement parts, and weapons were all turned into smoking wreckage. More importantly, they captured several alien communication devices and a complete set of occupation plans. The alien response was swift and brutal. High Counselor Vexithera ordered mass arrests and interrogations. Hundreds of humans were imprisoned, and many were executed as examples to the others. But the damage was already done. The resistance had proven that the aliens could be hurt, and word of the victory spread to other occupied settlements. Meanwhile, on Earth, the industrial transformation continued. Every factory that had once made civilian goods now produced weapons and military equipment. Admiral Morrison established new shipyards in the asteroid belt, hidden from alien detection. General Brooks trained a new generation of officers in what they called human-style warfare, emphasizing speed, creativity, and the willingness to take risks that seemed insane to alien minds. Dr. Taylor's research team made another crucial discovery. The Confederation's empire was held together by fear, not loyalty. Many of their subject species resented alien rule, but had never seen a successful rebellion. Human resistance was inspiring other species to consider fighting back. The most important intelligence came from Maria Santos, who had managed to access Confederation military records. The aliens had detailed files on every species in their empire, but their information about humans was completely wrong. They believed humans were a typical primitive species that would surrender when faced with superior technology. Pierce received new orders from Earth through a hidden communication network. Instead of just surviving, the resistance was ordered to actively disrupt alien operations. Every day the Confederation forces spent dealing with human rebels was a day they couldn't use to attack Earth. The resistance began targeting alien psychology as much as their equipment. They would attack at times when aliens expected to be safe, using weapons that aliens considered primitive but effective. They would retreat when aliens expected them to stand and fight, then attack when aliens thought they were defeated. Dr. Miller made contact with alien prisoners who had been captured in the warehouse raid. To his surprise, many of the younger aliens were having doubts about the war. They had been told that humans were a primitive species that would be grateful for Confederation protection. Instead, they found enemies who fought with desperate courage and refused to accept defeat. Some of these aliens began providing information to the resistance. They revealed security codes, patrol schedules, and supply routes. Most importantly, they confirmed that many Confederation species were questioning the invasion of Earth. The human resistance was causing political problems throughout the alien empire. Pierce planned his next operation carefully. Instead of attacking alien facilities, he would target their morale, The resistance would demonstrate that humans could strike anywhere, anytime, despite overwhelming alien advantages. The goal wasn't just to win battles, but to make the aliens afraid. The psychological warfare worked better than anyone expected. Alien guards began requesting transfers off occupation duty. Supply convoys traveled with larger escorts, slowing down the entire logistics system. Administrators spent more time on security than on governing, which led to mistakes that the resistance could exploit. As the first year of occupation ended, the situation had changed completely. The aliens still controlled the occupied colonies, but they ruled through fear rather than confidence. Human resistance had turned what was supposed to be a simple occupation into a costly, dangerous assignment that no alien wanted. Most importantly, word of human resistance had spread throughout the Confederation's empire. Other species were beginning to ask dangerous questions about alien invincibility. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was starting to show cracks, and it all began with a small group of humans who refused to kneel. Captain Steve Johnson pushed his new fighter to its maximum speed, racing through the asteroid field while alien pursuit ships struggled to keep up. His vessel was a hybrid of human and captured alien technology, faster and more maneuverable than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Behind him, a squadron of similar fighters followed his lead, preparing to strike another blow against the Confederation supply lines. 2 years had passed since the war began, and everything had changed. Earth's shipyards now produced vessels that combined human creativity with alien technology. The fighters were smaller than traditional spacecraft but incredibly agile, designed to exploit every weakness that Dr. Taylor's research teams had discovered. Commander Laura Evans studied the tactical display from her command ship, watching Johnson's squadron prepare for Operation Prometheus. Their target was Kepler Station, the Confederation's regional command center that coordinated attacks on Earth's colonies. The station was heavily defended and considered impregnable, which made it perfect for demonstrating human capabilities. Chief Engineer Mike O'Connor had designed the attack plan using what military historians were already calling the Murphy Doctrine. Instead of assuming everything would go according to plan, O'Connor built multiple backup strategies into every operation. When alien defenses adapted to one human tactic, the humans would immediately switch to something completely different. The hybrid fighters had been Johnson's idea. As a test pilot, he had flown captured alien ships and noticed that their controls were designed for predictable, methodical thinking. Human pilots could make the ships perform maneuvers that their original designers never intended, but only if the control systems were modified to respond to human reflexes. Evans coordinated the first phase of the attack from her position behind the asteroid field. Her job was to ensure that every element of the operation happened in perfect chaos. The aliens expected coordinated, logical attacks that followed military doctrine. Instead, they would face what appeared to be complete disorder, but was actually carefully planned confusion. Johnson, quote, as fighter squadrons struck first, appearing from multiple directions simultaneously. The alien defense systems were programmed to identify the primary threat and concentrate firepower accordingly, but every human ship appeared to be the primary threat, attacking from unexpected angles with weapons that shouldn't have been effective at such long range. The Confederation had learned to respect human fighters, but they still didn't understand them. Alien pilots were trained to follow precise formations and engage enemies according to established protocols. Human pilots ignored formations completely, fighting as individuals who somehow managed to coordinate their attacks through pure instinct. Quote, Connor watched the battle from his engineering station, making real-time modifications to human equipment as the situation changed. This was another advantage humans had discovered. Their technology was modular and adaptable, allowing changes during combat that would take alien systems hours to process and approve. The alien station's defenses were impressive, but inflexible. Massive energy weapons could destroy any ship that stayed in one position too long, but they couldn't track targets that moved erratically. Automated missile systems fired with perfect accuracy, but they couldn't predict where human pilots would go next because the humans themselves didn't know. Evans launched the second wave of the attack using converted cargo ships loaded with specialized equipment. The aliens expected military vessels and had prepared countermeasures accordingly. They weren't ready for industrial ships that had been modified with mining charges, construction equipment, and improvised weapons systems. Johnson led his fighters through the station's outer defenses, using tactics that violated every principle of space combat. They flew in tight formation through debris fields, separated suddenly to attack from different directions, then regrouped in impossible formations that confused alien targeting computers. The key moment came when Johnson identified the station's main reactor. Instead of attacking it directly, which the aliens expected, he coordinated a strike on the cooling systems using modified mining charges. The aliens had heavily armored the reactor, but left the support systems relatively unprotected. Commander Evans realized that the alien defenders were becoming predictable in their unpredictability. They were so focused on adapting to human tactics that they had started following new patterns. She immediately ordered her reserve forces to exploit this weakness, attacking the areas that the aliens had abandoned while concentrating on the human fighters. The station's destruction created a chain reaction that the aliens never saw coming. O'Connor had calculated that damaging the cooling systems would force an emergency shutdown of the main reactor. The shutdown would trigger backup systems that were designed to protect the station, but would actually make it vulnerable to a specific type of electromagnetic pulse. Johnson, S Squadron, delivered that pulse using equipment that had been designed for asteroid mining. The alien computers couldn't understand why humans would use industrial tools as weapons, and their defense systems weren't programmed to stop mining equipment that had been modified into electromagnetic weapons. Kepler Station went dark in less than 6 hours. The Confederation lost their regional command center, 3 squadrons of their best fighters, and most importantly, their reputation for invincibility. Word of the victory spread through the galaxy faster than the aliens could suppress it. War-Marshal Zundak studied the battle reports with growing respect for human capabilities. The armored alien had fought in dozens of campaigns, but he had never faced enemies who could adapt so quickly to changing situations. Human commanders seemed to excel at chaos, turning confusion into advantage. The victory at Kepler had consequences that reached far beyond military strategy. Several alien species that had been considering rebellion against the Confederation decided to act. The rigid empire that had controlled the galaxy for centuries was beginning to crack under pressure from multiple directions. Earth's industrial capacity had completely transformed. Admiral Morrison commanded fleets that combined human innovation with captured alien technology. The ships were faster, more maneuverable, and more unpredictable than anything the Confederation had encountered. More importantly, human crews could make decisions and adapt to new situations in real time. General Brooks established training centers throughout the solar system, teaching a new generation of officers to fight using human advantages rather than trying to match alien strengths. The most important lesson was psychological. Humans were naturally better at handling chaos and uncertainty than any alien species they had encountered. The aliens made their biggest mistake when they decided to attack Earth directly. High Counselor Fexithara assembled the largest fleet in Confederation history, intending to end human resistance with overwhelming force. What he didn't understand was that humans fought harder when their home was threatened. The Battle of Luna became the turning point of the war. Morrison had prepared Earth's defenses using every lesson learned from 2 years of fighting. The moons. Mass drivers were modified to throw chunks of rock at alien ships. Hidden weapon platforms were disguised as commercial satellites. Even civilian ships were armed and ready to join the battle. Johnson led the fighter squadrons that protected Earth's orbital defenses. His pilots had become legends throughout human space, known for their ability to defeat superior alien technology through pure skill and creativity. They flew ships that shouldn't have been able to compete with alien fighters, but somehow dominated. Every engagement. Commander Evans coordinated the overall defense using O'Connor's Murphy Doctrine. Every human strategy assumed that something would go wrong and planned accordingly. When alien attack succeeded, human forces were ready with immediate responses. When alien plans failed, humans were ready to exploit the confusion. The battle lasted for 3 days and became a nightmare for the Confederation fleet. They had expected to overwhelm Earth's defenses with superior numbers and technology. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to grow stronger under pressure. Human ships appeared from everywhere, attacking in ways that violated all logical military doctrine. The decisive moment came when Morrison ordered a coordinated strike using every available human vessel. Warships, cargo ships, mining vessels, and even passenger liners attacked the alien flagship simultaneously. The Confederation's tactical computers couldn't process such chaotic, illogical behavior. High Counselor Vex Thera watched his mighty fleet retreat for the first time in Confederation history. The species he had dismissed as primitive had not only survived his attack but had inflicted devastating casualties on forces that were supposed to be invincible. As the alien ships withdrew from Earth's solar system, humans throughout the colonies celebrated their greatest victory. But Morrison and his commanders knew that the real war was just beginning. They had proven that the Confederation could be defeated, and now other species throughout the galaxy would be watching to see what humans would do next. The message was clear. Humanity would not kneel to anyone, and they were ready to help others stand up as well. Admiral Susan Davis stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar fleet, watching alien rebels join her forces for the final assault on the Confederation capital. 5 years had passed since the first ultimatum, and the galaxy had changed, beyond recognition. What had started as humanity's desperate fight for survival had become a revolution that was tearing apart an empire that had ruled for 1,000 years. Ambassador Tony Clark finished negotiating the final alliance agreements. With the rebel species, 12 different alien civilizations had joined the uprising, inspired by humanity's example of successful resistance. The rigid Confederation structure was collapsing as species after species demanded the right to govern themselves. War-Marshal Zundak had secretly allied with the human forces 6 months earlier, bringing with him detailed intelligence about Confederation defenses and strategies. The armored alien warrior had come to respect human courage and adaptability. More importantly, he had realized that the Confederation's authoritarian system was doomed to fail against enemies who valued individual initiative. The capital world of Zephyros Prime had never been attacked in its entire history. The planet was protected by massive defense platforms, patrol fleets, and weapon systems that could destroy entire battle groups. But all of these defenses were designed to stop conventional attacks by organized military forces. They weren't prepared for the chaotic, unpredictable assault that Davis had planned. Colonel Sam Pierce led the ground forces that would assault the planet's surface. His troops were a mixture of human soldiers and alien rebels, all trained in the guerrilla tactics that had proven so effective during the occupation years. They would strike at multiple targets simultaneously, creating confusion that the rigid Confederation command structure couldn't handle. Captain Steve Johnson commanded the fighter squadrons that would provide air support for the invasion. His pilots now flew ships that were completely unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The vessels combined technologies from a dozen different species, modified and improved by human engineering, to create fighters that were faster and more maneuverable than their alien opponents could comprehend. The assault began with Maria Santos and her team of hackers attacking the planet's computer networks. The Confederation's information systems were incredibly sophisticated, but had never been designed to resist the chaotic, intuitive approach that humans used. Within hours, traffic control systems, defense computers, and communication networks were all malfunctioning. Dr. Frank Miller coordinated the psychological warfare campaign that preceded the physical attack. Broadcasting from hidden transmitters throughout the rebel fleet, human and alien voices told the truth about the Confederation's history of oppression. Many alien civilians had never heard criticism of their government and were shocked to learn about the suffering that the Empire had caused. High Counselor Vex Thera tried desperately to organize a defense of his homeworld, but the attack came from too many directions at once. Human forces struck from angles that weren't covered in any defensive plan. Rebel aliens used their intimate knowledge of Confederation technology to disable systems from within. Even loyal alien forces were confused by orders that contradicted each other. The space battle around Zephyros Prime lasted for 12 hours and became a masterpiece of human tactical innovation. Admiral Davis coordinated attacks by hundreds of ships from dozens of species, each group fighting according to their own strengths while supporting the overall strategy. The Confederation fleet couldn't adapt to fighting so many different enemies simultaneously. Captain Johnson's fighters played a crucial role in breaking through the planet's orbital defenses. They used tactics that had been developed during the liberation of Earth's colonies, striking fast and disappearing before the massive alien weapons could target them effectively. But now they were supported by rebel ships that could provide covering fire and electronic warfare support. Chief Engineer Mike O'Connor had prepared special equipment for the final assault. His teams had modified human technology to interface with alien systems, allowing the invasion force to turn captured Confederation weapons against their original owners. The aliens watched in horror as their own defense platforms began firing on their ships. The turning point came when Pierce's ground forces captured the Planetary Defense Control Center. Instead of destroying it, they used O'Connor's interface equipment to take control of the entire defense network. Suddenly, the weapons that were supposed to protect Zephyros Prime were being operated by human soldiers and alien rebels. War-Marshal Zundak led the final assault on the Confederation government complex. The alien warrior had spent years following orders without question, but he had learned from humans that sometimes the right thing to do was to rebel against authority. His forces consisted of former Confederation soldiers who had decided that freedom was more important than loyalty to an oppressive system. High Counselor Vexithara made his last stand in the Capitol building that had housed the Confederation government for centuries. He was surrounded by loyal guards and protected by automated defenses, but he could hear the sounds of battle getting closer. For the first time in his long life, the alien leader felt fear. The final confrontation was surprisingly brief. Pierce's soldiers disabled the building's defenses while Johnson's fighters prevented any escape attempts. Zundak's forces secured the government complex, and Ambassador Clark formally demanded the Confederation's surrender. Admiral Morrison arrived from Earth to witness the end of the war that had started with humanity's refusal to kneel. He stood beside Admiral Davis as they watched alien leaders sign documents that dissolved the Confederation and established the Free Worlds Alliance. The new government would be based on cooperation rather than domination, with each species maintaining its independence while working together for mutual benefit. The treaty negotiations took weeks, but the basic principles were established quickly. Every species would have the right to govern itself according to its own values and traditions. Military forces would be used only for defense, never for conquest. Most importantly, no species would ever again be forced to submit to another. High Counselor Vexithara was brought before Admiral Morrison for the final surrender ceremony. The alien leader had lost everything he had worked for throughout his long life. His empire was gone, his authority was broken, and his reputation as an invincible ruler was destroyed. But he still didn't understand how it had happened. Morrison looked at the defeated alien leader with a mixture of sympathy and determination. He understood that Vexithara represented an old way of thinking that saw the galaxy as a hierarchy where some species were naturally superior to others. That worldview had been shattered by humanity's example and could never be rebuilt. The final exchange between the two leaders would be remembered throughout galactic history. Vexithara asked the question that had been troubling him since the HFY War began. Why had humans fought so hard instead of accepting their natural place in the galactic order? Other species had been grateful for Confederation protection and had prospered under alien guidance. Morrison quote, S. response became the founding principle of the new galactic government. He explained that humans had never believed in natural places or predetermined destinies. Every human had the right to choose their own path, and every species had the right to determine its own future. The galaxy was big enough for everyone to be free. As the ceremony ended, Morrison reflected on the cost of victory. Millions of humans and aliens had died during the 5-year war. Earth's colonies had been devastated, and several alien worlds had been damaged by the fighting. But the sacrifice had been worth it. For the first time in galactic history, every species had the chance to live according to its own values. The Free Worlds Alliance grew quickly as more species joined the new government. Dr. Taylor's research. Teams worked with alien scientists to develop technologies that benefited everyone, instead of just providing military advantages. Trade and cultural exchange flourished as barriers between species were removed. Admiral Davis established the new Alliance Defense Force, designed to protect member worlds from external threats while preventing any single species from dominating the others. The force included ships and crews from every member species, working together as equals rather than as rulers and subjects. Ambassador Clark became the first human representative to the Alliance Council, where he worked to ensure that the principles of freedom and cooperation remained central to the new government. The council meetings were often chaotic compared to the rigid hierarchy of the old Confederation, but they produced better decisions because they included perspectives from every member species. The transformation of the galaxy took years to complete, but the foundation was solid. Humanity had proven that resistance to oppression was possible, and other species had learned that cooperation was more effective than domination. The future was uncertain, but it belonged to everyone who was willing to stand up for their freedom. Morrison spent his final years traveling throughout Alliance space, visiting worlds that had been liberated from Confederation rule. Everywhere he went, he saw the same thing: species that had been suppressed for